The Reaper job was recently revealed during FanFest, a job that piqued a lot of people's interest, mine included. This job stems from the Garlean lineage actually, which is really interesting. Because they could not tap into Aether themselves, they bound themselves to those from within the Void to gain power. The Reaper reveal gave us a small taste of what that power was, and I thought I would try my hand at taking a closer look at it. Hi, I'm Bio-Roxas. I like to break down mechanics and animations in games, and like to think I'm pretty good at catching the smaller details in combat. Let's take a closer look at the new Reaper job. The first shot opens with what I assume to be the idle animation. Most jobs will have your character idling if you don't move for a certain period of time. Of course, it could just be a completely unique animation just to introduce the job. The character then looks at the camera before spinning and slashing at the screen, transitioning to some gameplay. As the screen fades in, we can see the normal auto attack proc before we see a jab action triggered. This is a simple twisting slash followed by an uppercut. This is probably your first action and is followed up by the next weapon skill that is a 3-hit attack. There are 2 quick crossing slashes with a strong slice to end it. It cuts to show a different angle of the character, and it shows the same sequence of weapon skills used with the slash and uppercut, followed by the 3-hit attack. It looks like we also have time between the 2 actions to get an auto attack in, which is pretty normal, I think. At the end of the 3-hit strike, it also seems like there's an additional hit, maybe as the Reaper flips their scythe back. I'm not sure if this is part of the action or another auto attack proc. Anyways, I'll move on to the next scene. We get a look at the Reaper attack next, which has the Reaper doing 3 striking attacks. You can see Aether spinning around them during the summoning. We get the same attack by the Reaper later, but with the character using their attacks alongside it, so maybe you can break out of that summon animation since it looks like the character starts the summoning here as you see that same Aether swirling around them before going into an attack. We then see a new action that is another 3-hit attack, as well as a quick 2-hit spinning attack. This second attack looks incredible with the character spinning the scythe over their head before striking downwards. We then get another additional hit at the end of this attack too. Next up, we get a look at the Reaper possessing the character. A magic circle appears around them before pushing out and revealing the character with energy seeping out. We get another angle of this that shows red orbs flying upwards during this. This transformation seems to deal some damage as well, which is nice so you're not completely missing out on DPS during the shift. And I also assume the boost in damage more than makes up for that few seconds it takes to transform. This 3-hit attack packs such a punch, and the huge cuts of energy following your slashes really drives that in. We get 3 different angles of this attack, and it looks like the strength of the strikes actually propels the character into the air. Lastly, we get what I assume to be the victory pose for the Reaper. One idea I have is that if the Reaper is out, maybe that could change your emotes sometimes. I think that'd be pretty cool. Also, did they change characters mid-trailer? It would be cool when we transition to the Reaper mode that our character would also change to look like a Grim Reaper. But I think they just did that for effect in this trailer. I also wonder what will trigger this mode. My initial thought, since we kind of saw 2 different sets of attacks, is that maybe one set will do damage that increases the blood gauge, like Dark Knight, while the other set is more focused on damage. Like maybe one set fills your gauge more quickly at the expense of damage, while the other is geared more towards damage with a slower gauge fill effect. I also wonder if all of your attacks will change, or if it'll just be 1 or 2 actions that you spam for a limited time in Reaper mode. So you can either choose to summon the Reaper to attack alongside you, or you can kind of wear the Reaper for a second to do some stronger attacks. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it down below. One cool little detail is that I think Zenus uses this spinning 2-strike attack in the benchmark trailer. I thought that was a nice touch. There's also this jab with the handle of his scythe, which may be an interrupt action. Here's a mitigation looking action, but this may just be for effect rather than an action. But I did want to show it off because it looks pretty cool. Lastly, there is what I can only assume to be Reaper's Limit Break 3. And that would have been the end of the video, but a friend reached out asking me if the attacks during the Chrysalis trial against Nabrialis had any connection to the Reaper's orbs during the transformation. Taking a closer look, they do kind of resemble each other, and the other orbs in this fight have a similar color scheme of blue and teals, just like the regular strikes of the Reaper job. And again, that would have been the end of it, but then I happened to look at Nabrialis and notice his Reaper-like appearance, and then I wondered, how did the Garleans, the people who didn't have control over Aether even, bring about the Garlean Empire? Well, obviously we know Emet-Selch ultimately built that empire, but maybe he was just the last piece of the puzzle. Maybe all the Reapers used were Ascians too. Only powerful Ascians have the ability to take over a living host, while lesser Ascians can only control those who are already dead, but could probably still inhabit a body without taking it over, lending their power to whoever they inhabited. What if the man who built the Garlean Empire, Solus, invoked a Reaper and just so happened to tap the shoulder of Emet-Selch, who saw this Garlean as a way to fulfill his plans? Speaking of Emet-Selch, his recreation of the city of Amuro had people dressed in dark robes and white masks. While not completely the same, they do have a striking resemblance to the Reapers in my opinion. Finally, my last piece of evidence for why I think Ascians and Reapers are connected are the Ascian Primes. These are when two Ascians fuse together. You can't tell me this doesn't look similar. Even looking at their hands shows that they have the same number of fingers as the Reapers. They don't have legs, they float. They look like a Grim Reaper. They do have wings, which the other Reapers don't have, but ignore that. I cannot wait to see what the quests for this job reveal about the origins of the Reapers. One last thing I want to note is that there is text on both magic circles we see invoked with this job. I don't have a huge knowledge of the lower 14, so if anyone knows if these are connected with a certain language, let me know. Personally, I think it'd be really cool if this is a small peek into what the Ascian's language looks like. And I know I was saying Ascian through the whole part of this little theory, but it could just be it's the sundered souls in the void rather than having to be strictly associated with the Ascians. Yeah, just wanted to make a note of that. And I think that is all my thoughts on the Reaper job. I hope I was able to point out something you hadn't seen yet, or get you thinking more about how the Reaper job's mechanics will work. If you enjoyed this, you may enjoy my breakdowns on the Kingdom Hearts series, where I do the same kind of analysis. I do plan on looking closer at the jobs already in Final Fantasy XIV in the coming weeks, so if that sounds interesting, subscribe so you don't miss it. I've been streaming a ton over on Twitch as well, playing a ton of Final Fantasy XIV. We're doing EX trials right now, so if that sounds interesting, then drop a follow. There's a link down in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, click the cards on screen to see some reactions to Final Fantasy XIV. Subscribe or share this, and I'll see you in the next video.